I was pleased to see that the courts came down hard on one of the people that have been blocking the coal trains in the Hunter. And it's good that they're going after those protesters, but forgive my smart arsery, isn't the greatest protester against coal the Treasurer of New South Wales?
Look, I think it's a bit unfair. I mean, Matt certainly, as Environment Minister, has led the way here in New South Wales and more broadly across the country as we transition to renewable energy. But here in our state, coal has an important part to play in our future. I was in the Parliament today in question time. Our number one export in New South Wales is coal. Many families right across our state rely on that industry to provide for their families, and importantly, it drives significant investment into New South Wales. So what we want to do is have a balanced approach in our state. I don't want to get caught on the ideological fringes. We know that renewable energy is going to play a much greater role as we move forward. We need to drive investment in that space, but at the same time, we can't ignore the importance that coal plays in driving prices down and providing reliable and affordable energy right across our state.
So it's not a fringe issue. Still, it actually polls at the moment as majority support. Why not remove the moratoriums in and around nuclear that Mark Latham's trying to get done in the Parliament?
Well, we've been looking at that. There's a significant view that there's not the capacity for any, or confidence that there would be any significant private investment. Now, Paul Toole, our Deputy Premier here in New South Wales, has responsibility in that area. He's been working through that and will continue to look at that area. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm very open to everything being on the table. I don't like taking things off, and I think we should front up to if we believe something is the right thing to do, then we should look at it.
Queensland apparently owes New South Wales more than $40 million, a deal that was done by the then Treasurer, still the same government. You were there sitting around when that deal was done, pre-pandemic. What would you do to get that $40 million back? Because the current Deputy Premier just tore up the deal, yet is sending in debt collectors who owe the Queensland government money for their hotel quarantine.
Well, in defence of Cameron Dick to some degree, it was actually Jackie Trad, the former Treasurer, who signed off on that deal, and I was part of those discussions and agreements for the State Board of Treasurers. But he's clearly aware that that agreement was entered into by the former Treasurer, Jackie Trad, and they should stick to their agreement. And we've done the heavy lifting here in New South Wales. The majority of people who have flown into Australia flew into Sydney. And we understand our responsibility in that place, but I think ultimately we're all working together, which is exactly the approach we took at the Board of Treasurers. Then Queensland should pay their bill, and I think it's disappointing. We all want to work together. We've done that in the main over this period of time, and I'd like them to do it. And if I took the same approach as the Queensland government, would be sending the sheriff up north if we could actually get into the place.
That's all right. Give me the badge. I'll go do it for you. Now, let's also talk here about COVID. 95% is when the two-tiered system falls away, or a particular date. Surely we've hit that moment now where it's pretty obvious that everyone who wants to get it can get it. For those who choose not to, they're the ones playing Russian roulette, not those of us that have been vaccinated. We've got to bring this to an end, right?
Yeah, I don't want a two-tiered system in New South Wales, Paul. And we made some changes to the roadmap earlier, where we pushed that date back to the 15th of December. We're probably not going to get to 95% double dose at that point in time, but I did say whatever comes first. We're also getting rid of masks in indoor settings on the 15th of December as well. I did bring forward a whole range of restrictions that we were releasing 3 weeks earlier, and I think things are getting back on track in our state. But Paul, I don't want to keep being in a situation where we have these restrictions, where QR codes are in place all the time. It's not the government's role to provide liberty and freedom. That is really what we have by being born in this nation, the inherent human dignity that we all have.
We've seen that plenty of states, and I think they're doing it for political reasons going into the next federal election. They want to pick a fight with the federal government all the time. What's your attitude towards working with the federal government, and this one in particular?
We have to work with the federal government. That's it. And I wouldn't care, Paul, if it was a Labor government or a Liberal government. And I've had always a very constructive relationship with the Prime Minister. We have disagreed on a number of occasions, and I'm sure we will disagree on issues going forward. But there's more that we have in common than that divides us, and I want to continue that constructive relationship, because having a constructive relationship with the federal government and the current Prime Minister is what's in the best interest of the people of our state. I'm not here to play petty politics. If I disagree with the government on certain matters, I will raise it with them. But ultimately, I think if we've learned anything through this pandemic, is working together will get better outcomes. And we're here not to serve ourselves. We're here to serve the people of New South Wales. He's here to serve the people of Australia. And I think working together will ensure a better place here in our state.